Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation, Getting into the Groove, Embodiment and Improvisation in Teaching. I had originally prepared this presentation as part of my Master of Nursing studies at the University of Victoria. This was in 2012-2013. I was interested and was enrolled in their nurse educator stream of the master's program because I really wanted to explore more about teaching and learning nursing, and really one of the stimuli for preparing this presentation was at the time I was teaching in a practical nurse program, and they had hired an external curriculum expert to come in and discuss how to better teach and learn within this program. And I remember one day sitting and listening to a conversation in a meeting about how this particular individual felt that we should be creating a bunch of standard PowerPoint presentations so that, quote, anyone, unquote, could come in and teach in the practical nurse program. And so that was the beginning for me of really starting to think about, what we are doing as educators. Am I there just standing, presenting a bunch of information on a slide? Is it just about transfer of content, or what else might be going on? And so I really started to look about how we might reconceptualize what we do as educators. And so the intents of this presentation were to reflect upon teaching as improvisational, or being in the groove, as it were, and how this might be relevant for teaching and learning in nursing. And so I explored two tenets of relational pedagogy, embodiment and improvisation, as they relate to personal experiences in my various teaching and learning contexts. And of course, to synthesize my coursework and readings to develop further insights into how one might be as a teacher. Into the groove is a phrase used by musicians, often when improvising. As a slang term, it can mean to react or interact harmoniously, performing exceptionally well, feeling in rapport with one's surroundings. And certainly my background I was formally trained in classical piano growing up, and as well played and performed not only as a soloist, but also in various musical groups, jazz bands, concert bands. And so I started to really see some similarities between performing and teaching, and certainly this improvisational element, because even as a teacher, when you come into the classroom and have your content or your material that you're going to present, there's still another piece of it in that you don't know how that class is going to unfold, because you have a classroom full of students, and the students are different even term to term or year to year. And so there's always, to me, this improvisational element to the classroom. So I wanted to explore that further. Being in the groove is an advanced level of musical development. It can be seen, according to Forrester and Bailey, as forces of unseen connection that directly influence experience and behavior and enable a person to experience something beyond himself which he cannot create alone. Further, they see being in the groove as a developmental stage. They studied improvisational music groups to inform human organizational systems research, and Forrester and Bailey identified 3 stages of development: surviving, improving, and innovating. Stage 3, or innovating, according to Forrester and Bailey, is being in the groove, and this stage is characterized by the following characteristics: creativity, not knowing, openness, spiritualness at one with the group, and faith in creating something significant. And these stages for me were very influential because they helped me reframe and reflect more upon my role as a teacher. For example, are you a sage on the stage? Do you take on the stance of the knowing expert? That is certainly well characteristic in some teaching contexts. And so to me, reading these characteristics were important to perhaps reflect on my stance as an educator and where these might be more helpful for teaching and learning than the traditional sage on the stage lecture expert style. So if one was interested in getting into the groove, how might you do that? Well, some authors suggest that the chances for musicians to get into the groove are greatest when musicians are committed to a common purpose, recognize and remove defensive patterns, are open to others' musical ideas, complement others' ideas, take risks with the music, and are supported by a respectful instructor. So as a means of perhaps reflecting on how might one look and feel when they're in the groove, I found out on the YouTube the Dave Brubeck Quartet in 1966 playing Take 5. And if you go to this site and watch them perform this, you can see improvisation at work. So as you're watching, I encourage you to think about, are they in the groove? And how might you know? And how would you describe the relationship among the musicians? Now, I wanted to look further a little bit about embodiment and groove. And Klingman suggests that a groove is primarily a bodily experience, and it's an essential feature of the musical matrix, and it's needed to initiate and enhance social interaction. As well, it's a state of intuitive understanding where interaction is unified in the now, from which autonomous emotions emerge. And according to Klingman, it's seeing the groove conceptualized as embodied is necessary to challenge the mind-body dualisms of music as only pure mental nourishment. Further, the site of groove creation is creativity based on embodied capacities, characterized by both routinized and improvisational components of creativity, and located in the spaces between formative rules and situational conditions. So again, I have another YouTube link here. It's Alan Chase, who is a saxophonist and jazz educator, and he discusses teaching as improvisational. And so you might find this brief YouTube video helpful too, to listen to how he feels that there are improvisational elements to teaching and learning as well. So with this background in improvisation and embodiment and musicianship, I wanted to go out into the literature to see if I could find a relationship or an intersection with these ideas and teaching and learning in nursing. So I came across Burgum's article on relational pedagogy. And he or she talks about exploring the relation of teacher and student, nurse and patient, self and world. And Burgum argues that relational pedagogy involves an exploration of embodiment, or being the teaching, improvisation, doing the teaching, and interdependence, locating the teaching in a reciprocal world of home. Further, Burgum discussed a little bit more about embodiment. And this is the lived reality of who teachers are. And it really opens the possibility of relation between teacher and student, where teaching is understood as a watchfulness, a trust of the student, letting the student learn with the goal of opening the space for the student to come into one's own. And so I've just included here Burgum's article for those of you who might be interested in reading it further, as it does have a lot of relevance, I feel, for teaching and learning in nursing. And as well, I really highly recommend Chapter 5, Theory as Liberatory Practice, in Bell Hook's book, Teaching to Transgress, Education as the Practice of Freedom. These are two really good resources for looking at how teaching and learning can be done in a much more effective way, I would think. And lastly, for reflection and some fun, there are some resources, videos out on the internet, and you may have seen one or both of these clips Be the Ball Danny is a Caddyshack excerpt where Chevy Chase's character is trying to teach Danny how to play golf. And a Saturday Night Live skit from 2000 with Will Ferrell entitled I Need More Cowbell is another good video. You may have seen one or both of these, but I included them in this presentation because they're really good examples of perhaps the encouragement and or the constraint of improvisation. So I really encourage you to, if you haven't seen one or both of these, go out and try to find them and watch them, and again reflect on what's happening in terms of encouragement or constraint of improv. And as your reward for listening today, there's a bonus free scat singing lesson. It ain't over till you sing. So thank you for viewing and listening today, and as an added bonus, you can check out this link below for your complimentary scat singing lesson. So thanks for listening, and I look forward to any comments or feedback you would like to share. dianeb@uvic.ca. Thanks for listening, and here are my resources if you are interested in reading more.